On tonight's Real ER, doctors fight to save a patient's thumb and are pushed to breaking point when they have to deal with a series of stabbings. And an industrial accident brings the best out of the armed forces. All this and more tonight on The Real ER. Forty-three-year-old Anthony Bridgewater has caught his hand in machinery at work.
OK, Anthony?
OK, yeah.
Right.
Got him to do.
No, don't you worry. I'm going to get you up to our department now, OK? When you get there, lots of doctors, lots of people asking you questions, all right? We'll get you sorted out.
Paramedic Tony Hall treated Anthony on site.
He's lost the top of his left thumb. Okay. There's some damage, obvious damage to the index finger, middle finger and wedding ring finger.
To see if Anthony has broken any fingers, Senior Health Officer Ash Aziz sends him for an X-ray, while the severed thumb is put on ice to prevent decay or infection setting in.
Initially, when we saw the hand, we thought he'd actually fractured a number of fingers, as well as amputating his left thumb. But actually looking at the X-rays now, you can see that he's clearly amputated the left thumb. So that'll probably have to be fixed, and we'll try and re-implant that.
It's like a prolonged operation. The chances of putting it back is about 50-50 because he has pulled the muscles back from the forearm. But still, we give it a try and see how it goes.
While the trauma team pull out all the stops to save Anthony's thumb, staff in minor accidents are working flat out to reach their targets. No matter how ill the patient, each one needs to pass through accident and emergency within 4 hours. Some patients are fast-tracked through See and Treat.
We sit a doctor in there, sometimes two, to help the patients come through. They basically see all these sort of minor injury type patients, sort of anything below the elbow, below the knee, minor rashes, minor complaints, and they get seen a little bit quicker. We get them in and out.
Fernanda O'Sullivan is waiting with her handyman.
Well, this is my chap here, right, and he decided to put one of the handles on his bedroom door upside down. Right, now me being the stupid person tried to pull it down, got it wrong, pulled it up and caught my hand underneath the handle. And I trapped it for a few minutes, pulled it out. It's been here now for about 7 days, maybe 10. But I've been OK, I've been taking painkillers, but it's got more and more painful. So it's his fault, basically. I think he should be shot.
Fernanda O'Sullivan, yeah? Come down. Once the treatment's ascertained that we need to do, we move the doctor round to the next cubicle to see another patient. While they're seeing the other patient, we carry on with the treatment. Then we put another patient in there, and basically you're moving your doctor back one way and back the other. From a nurse point of view, we stay for the whole shift. So like now, I'm doing actually probably about 8 hours in total. I mean, it works really well, to be honest. I mean, just keep the numbers down, and we don't get the 8 and 9 hour waits that we used to have. Now, at most, it's probably about an hour and a half. That includes your X-ray, includes your treatment, includes seeing the doctor as well.
Fernanda's X-rays show she's broken the base of her thumb.
The thing is that we need to put it in a cast, okay? And this sort of fracture has got a fancy name as well. It's got Bennett's fracture, okay? So the cast will be known as a Bennett's cast as well. So I will ask one of the nurses to put the cast on, all right? And we'll take it from there. Okay. All right, so you can wait in the waiting area, and I'll ask one of the nurses to come. All right.
The cast is named after the Irish surgeon Edward Bennett, the first doctor to describe the fracture. Up to 70 patients a day are treated with minor injuries.
We do have times when it goes up to 2.5 hours. If that happens, we tend to get another doctor in and work 2 doctors, 1 nurse, and we get through. Whereas now we've got about a half-hour wait now. It's always been successful, even in the informal basis. But I think now we've formalised it and we actually get a doctor in on a regular basis, to all the time, daily. It works very well. I enjoy it because I like minor injuries anyway, so it's good for me. I personally like it, but some don't.
As Colin and the rest of the See and Treat team work their way through the injured, consultant plastic surgeon Garth Titley tries to fix the fracture in Anthony's thumb. He can use this as a scaffold on which to attach the severed tip.
It's a bad injury in terms of what we call replantation because the thumb's been pulled off. There are structures dangling from the part that's been removed, which is generally not a very good sign in terms of reattaching an amputated part. That being said, we haven't managed to get the thumbs back on in that situation, so although it's a bad injury with a guarded chance of success, we'll give it a go.
The operation can take up to 15 hours. While the theatre team repairs Anthony's thumb, news of another emergency is coming in.
It's a male, no age, multiple stab wounds. He's had 500 mils of crystalloid so far. 5% crystalloid on route 10 minutes.
Okay, I just checked with Mel.
Ambulance technician Ron Parks was first to arrive at the stabbing.
The chap had multiple stab wounds and he did have part of his stomach protruding through a wound. So it was quite serious. We did what we had to do on scene. Basically gave the gentleman some fluids and we got it as quick as we could, basically. They're becoming more and more frequent nowadays, I think. It just seems to be a culture now, people carrying knives, etc., etc. You take it, it's just another job, really.
Air entry's bilateral equal. He's got on his right flank 3 centimetre wound.
We were told from the crew that he had a stab wound to the top part of his abdomen. The worry with that is if someone stabbed from upwards like that it actually would go into their lungs or into their heart. So that was the initial thing that we had in the back of our minds, is this going to be more a chest problem?
Yeah.
Is chest okay?
His chest is absolutely clear.
Make a normal state line.
And to add to the trauma team's hectic day, another alert is looming.
Right, recess, can you all just listen up, please, in recess? We have got another trauma alert. Hey, have some silence! Quiet, please. Can somebody from trauma take this second stabbing that's going to be in number 3 here, okay?
The number of emergencies is growing by the minute, and the battle to save patients' lives hangs in the balance. At the same time, staff have to deal with less life-threatening problems. Mark Tracy has been bitten by a dog, a big one at that.
I took my dog out about 8:45 this morning for a run, and I always let him off the lead when he comes onto the field. Like, I never let him off the lead on the road or on the paths or whatever. And a big German Shepherd's come running over, like, and then he's sniffing like he sniffs other dogs, and he's always friendly with other dogs. And this German Shepherd just started biting him, like, you know what I mean? So he's retaliated, started biting the German Shepherds. There was a nasty fight going on. I was trying to grab him, like, and eventually, like, I've managed to grab my dog, like, and the German Shepherd just turned around and just sunk his teeth straight into my arm. It's gone through definitely to the bone. It's not too painful, like, when I rest it, like, it's just when I lift it up, like, you know what I mean? Because I can, like, kind of feel the bone or the tissue gnawing, like, you know. Never been really bit by a dog, you know what I mean, before.
Mark's taken into See and Treat to be looked at by A&E's canine connoisseur, Dr. Vibhor Gupta.
It was just one snap like that.
One snap.
Yeah, and then I've just had to try and grab my dog as well to just stop him from
When did it happen?
About 8:45 this morning.
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
Okay, can you make a fist for me, please?
Yeah.
No problem in moving it?
I can feel like the pain, like, a bit when I do that.
But you didn't have any cracking noise like broken the bone?
No, I haven't broken the bone, I don't think. What's that thing sticking out of it?
I think it's just the fat and the skin which has just come out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Will that go back in?
Yeah, it will go back in. Even if it doesn't go back when it dries off, it will level up.
Won't it need a stitch?
No, we don't stitch the dog bite wounds unless they are really, really deep and we have to bring the skin together. So we'll just clean it, put some dressing on it, and give a tetanus injection and some antibiotics.
But if somebody is bitten in the face, the wound is sewn up to stop scarring. Mr. Gupta's specialist subject is animal bites.
I have designed a protocol for the dog bites for this department, and which is going to be a multi-central trial, and it will be accepted all over the West Midlands. Dog bites are quite common in the summers, basically, because that's the breeding season for the dogs, and that's when they get really, really mad. They are usually crush injuries, because the dog, when it applies the force, it can crush a metal sheet. Where if you look at the canines of the cat, they are more slender, very sharp teeth, and they are puncture wounds. They can penetrate more, and that's why the cat's bite are really dangerous. The human mouth I would say is the worst because it harbors several species of the bacteria. They have described more than 64 species of bacteria, and there are certain bacteria which are really, really nasty. If somebody has got bite on knuckles, they should all be explored and irrigated and stitched in theatre, not under A&E just by cleaning and dressing. Because if we do it, we are guaranteed that the patient will come back with an infected swollen hand. So the human bite is the worst bite, then comes the cat bite, and then comes the dog bite.
As See and Treat take care of the wounded, the trauma team's troubles in the resuscitation area continue as another emergency is rushed in. Ken Wayne has been suffering from pneumonia.
Pick the right day to come, Ken, I tell you. Madness out there.
Can the A&E team cope with one more serious case? We catch up with Ken, Anthony and the others after the break and follow one man's fight to save his burnt foot.
I'm alright, a bit sore like, but alright, yeah.
And the first patient to be stabbed is rushed into theatre. All this and more on The Real ER. Staff at Selly Oak are dealing with several ongoing emergencies as well as routine calls, and the A&E resources are being stretched to the limit. Senior Sister Mel Brown is trying to find out what beds are available for her growing list of casualties.
I've got potentially 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 7 more to come to you.
But they are making progress. Anthony Bridgewater is making a good recovery after his operation. It took 14 hours to reattach his thumb.
The part went back on, the blood supply was restored, and at the moment it's looking quite good, really.
Anthony is only just realising the enormity of what has happened to him.
Reached the lowest part of my life, I think. Very emotional, scary, but feeling now after, 7 days, I feel a lot better than I did, obviously. But no, very biggest roller coaster of my life, emotionally,
Garth is using an old-fashioned remedy, medicinal leeches, to try and get blood flowing in and out of Anthony's thumb.
I came to see him this morning on my morning ward round, and the thumb was not looking as good as I'd heard from the team who were looking after him yesterday. And when I looked at it, it looked as though the blood was getting into the thumb okay, but was not leaving the thumb very well, and that usually implies a problem with the veins that carry the blood away. And we found that you can use a leech like a vein, and so the leech sucks the blood. They have a chemical in their saliva which stops blood from clotting, so they can suck and make the part bleed. And even when the leech comes off, the part continues to bleed. We have to be careful that he doesn't lose a lot of blood, in fact, so we'll monitor his blood count to make sure that's okay.
But to sit and watch him sucking the blood out of your thumb, it's quite, scary at first, but then it started to get a bit interesting, sort of thing.
Colour had definitely improved significantly. So I'm hopeful if we can maintain the leeches, it'll pull through, but it's fairly critical at the moment which way it's going to go.
Just as the dust begins to settle in A&E, the team are alerted to another emergency.
Rolled down my leg.
Foundry worker David Harper has been in an industrial accident.
Some liquid ions got down my boot. A friend of mine spilt it on me. I couldn't get my boot off quick enough, and it's burnt the bottom of my foot and my toes.
Iron melts at a temperature of 1500 degrees centigrade. It will have burned through all the layers of skin, what doctors call full thickness burns. The Royal Centre for Defence Medicine is based at Selly Oak, where they treat both military and civilian patients. Army doctor Major Chris Taylor has been drafted in to examine David's injury.
Can you feel that there? Not really. No, okay. You can see that the blood's coming back into the skin when I release it, so that's quite superficial. There's a patch here certainly that's quite white, quite tough. The problem with a full thickness burn is that the skin is devitalised, it doesn't have a blood supply to it, and therefore runs quite a high risk of getting infection. If we think that that might be the case, then it's better to sort of put a skin, take away the dead tissue at an early stage, put a skin graft on it, and then he can get back to sort of a reasonable function quite quickly, really, and we'll have protected the tissues.
Once the wound is cleaned and dressed, David is sent to the burns ward to rest. He'll need all his strength to face his operation in theatre tomorrow. Next day, Senior Registrar Jules Walton is taking stock of the wounded.
The gentleman that went to theatre from his stab wounds is apparently doing well. Mr. Wayne, I believe, is doing well.
But it's not good news for Anthony Bridgewater.
Bit of a U-turn really regarding the thumb line. It hasn't knitted on the very tip of the, it hasn't taken one. So I'm off down to theatre today to have the rest of the tip of my thumb taken away.
It's always disappointing, obviously, in this sort of situation when you've put a lot of time and effort and a lot of resource into, this type of surgery. There aren't really no options at this stage. Once the thumb's dead, it needs to come off, because if you leave it, it can become infected, and then that would then put the rest of his hand at risk.
Quite a big thing, but I'm here, aren't I? And that's it. Just got to get on with it now. Get on with life.
As Anthony accepts his new challenge, the team face up to another day on the front line. Pensioner Phil Myatt has hobbled into A&E after a fall.
I slipped on the grass and fell onto a concrete slab with my shoulder taking the brunt of it. I couldn't react to it because of the rheumatoid arthritis. However, that's life, isn't it?
Philip Myatt.
This is the real thing.
Phil once played a big part in promoting Birmingham's fledgling music scene in the 60s and started the legendary Mothers Club. Just about everybody in the history of rock played there, from The Who to Pink Floyd. Sadly for Phil, Mothers closed in 1971.
Hello there, how you doing? Hello. Mr. Myers.
Surgeon Lieutenant Owen Rainey is looking into Phil's fall.
There is a fracture there of the clavicle. I just want to have a quick look at the shoulder, okay?
Sure.
So I'm going to stand you up if that's all right.
Yep.
Okay, good man. And on the inside.
Owen wants to make sure there is no muscle or blood damage.
Inside. Okay.
Satisfied there are no complications, he decides on a course of treatment.
We need to put the arm into a sling. I don't think it's going to need an operation. We tend to leave these, okay? And they heal on their own, okay? But you will be in a sling for a while, okay? Can take up 4 or 6 weeks possibly for it to be fully better.
4 to 6.
Possibly.
It's better than 6 to 8 I had earlier.
Well, possibly. Let's let the experts see at the fracture clinic tomorrow, and then they can follow you up.
At least Phil can go home now. In the burns unit, consultant Mr. Moyman is briefing David Harper before he's taken down for his operation.
If we don't clean it, the burns will get deeper, and obviously will cause more scarring and can cause systemic infection, and they can be unwell. The white patches are the deep burns that needs excision and grafting. We try not to put skin graft on the sole of the foot and the palm of the hand because it's very specialized skin. The sole of the foot is very thick, so it heals better. And you can get away with a thicker burn in the sole of the foot more than the dorsum of the foot. We keep Dave in his bed for another day, and Thursday morning we'll start getting him out of bed. And we'll have a look at the burns on Friday.
David needs to put weight on his foot as soon as possible. If he doesn't, blood will rush into his leg when he first stands up and lift the skin graft off.
I know it's painful, but the sooner we do this, the better it'll be for you. Well done. That was excellent.
It's very painful anyway after a long morning. I feel faint as well. A rush of blood. A bit unsteady on it. Very nervous to put weight on it. Just going to have to stick at it and go steady. Just a bit of time. It's very painful though.
It's up to David now. Keeping walking helps his recovery. In the miners, Army Doctor Damien Keane is examining Paul Dugan, a gardener who's been in the wars.
Right, what's happened?
I was cutting a lady's garden and the mower wasn't working properly, and I thought I'd have a quick look underneath, and I caught it, which was the wrong thing to do.
To find out if there are any breaks under the skin, Damien sends Paul for an X-ray.
These lines here are all abnormal, and basically he's broken right through the tip of his finger. You can see a small line in here, a small crack as well. Because the blades they're under a lot of tension when they're stuck, You stick your hand and you clear the obstruction, it swings around with an awful lot of speed and will just slice straight through and can just crack the bone immediately with the force that it applies to the tissues.
It's bad news for Paul, as this is a busy time of year for him.
A bit disappointed because I don't know how it's going to affect my work, but these things happen. We've had a bad week and now I need to get stuck into the gardens, so it's a bit unfortunate really.
The small breaks in Paul's thumb will repair themselves naturally. Unfortunately, the nail has to come off. As the nail bed is undamaged, a new nail will grow to take its place. It's Kenny Wayne's 54th wedding anniversary, but he still hasn't moved from Seaward.
Well, we can't spend it together, can we, like, you know? But she'll come tonight and see me. We're married 54 years, and we both enjoyed it. We've got a good family, all good lads and 2 good girls. They look after us very well, you know, and I've got nothing to regret.
Kenny did go home, but was back at Selly Oak a few days later. Doctors say his chest problems are the result of a leaky heart valve. He is still under investigation. But there's good news for David Harper. All his gruelling exercise has paid off.
Yeah, been hard the last couple of days getting up on it, but I'm glad to be going home now. Things are certainly looking better, so I'd like a pint, but I've been told I'm not allowed. Not yet, while I'm on my painkillers.
And gardener Paul Dugan is back on home turf.
It's sore, not painful, it's sore, but I can live with it. I'm just enjoying the nice weather. As long as I can potter around, I'm happy, because if I couldn't use either hand, then I'd be a bit frustrated, I think.